Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Friday morning. It's Stephen Whiteside here from the uptrend.com. In the pre-market this morning, things are fairly quiet. Stock index futures and commodities are currently above fair value. Now, I am doing this video ahead of the 8:30 employment numbers, and they could certainly change the direction of this market. Later in the day, we get consumer sentiment. It's not as powerful as the employment numbers, but it could still help change the direction of the market. Now, in the pre-market this morning, we've got Amazon trading down just under $10. That would take us down below the lower channel line here if Amazon were to close there this afternoon, and that would generate a new daily sell signal, but we're not there just yet. Now, when we look at the week so far, and I ran these weekly charts off this morning just to see how things were going to settle coming into the weekend, we do have the VIX down on the week. That, of course, is supportive for higher stock prices. Not a lot of upward momentum for the S&P 500. The Nasdaq did a little better. So far, it's an inside week for the Nasdaq. The TSX is very quiet, almost unchanged on the week. We've got gold up over $41, while crude oil is down nearly $2 on the week. So crude oil has been down the last 3 weeks in a row. Then looking at the US dollar index, nice big reversal week there. It is down slightly on the week. The Canadian dollars had a wild week, making a new low. We saw some panic selling earlier in the week, and it has come back, and it is just up a tiny bit on the week so far. Then looking at the bond market, we want bonds to go up because that would cause bond yields to go down, and that's what's happening at the moment. So that is what we're seeing in the VIX. The US dollar index and the bond market is supportive for higher stock prices. Now, moving on to the daily charts, we don't have any trend changes from Thursday for the major indices that we watch. We saw a pullback in the Dow. We saw the S&P 500 move up. The equal-weighted S&P 500 was actually down slightly on the day. The NASDAQ 100 continued to move higher. The equal-weighted NASDAQ continued to move higher, and we saw a little pullback in the next generation NASDAQ on Thursday. Looking at the Canadian market, the iShares for the TSX 60 were down just 4 cents on the day. The Vanguard Canada ETF was down 5 cents on the day, so no major movements there. And the VIX continued to move lower. It was down 1.71% on the day, and so that, of course, is supportive for higher stock prices. Now, I want to go back to this weekly chart of the S&P 500, and we are currently up at all-time highs, and you think that the market would be celebrating, but when we look at the CNN Fear and Greed Index, we're currently in a state of fear, which is kind of, it's out of sync. We're out of sync with what the indexes are doing at the moment. If we're hitting all-time highs, you'd think that, we'd be over here at extreme greed, but that's not what we are right now. And so if you want to make a bullish case, you could say that, hey, the market has a long way to go before we get to extreme greed. So that means the market has more upside potential. If you're bearish, hey, we're already in a state of fear, and we've got some room to go to extreme fear to get the market to pull back. So this is a unusual situation where the fear and greed index is totally out of sync with what's happening on the major stock market indices. Now, one of our members sent me this image yesterday, and it looks like Wealthsimple is advertising their most heavily traded stocks from 2024. And we talk about most of these on a regular basis. We haven't talked about GameStop in probably a year or so. So let's walk through them now and just to take a look at where they are. Of course, in these pre-market presentations, we're not looking at the big picture. We're not looking at the monthly or weekly charts. We're focused on the daily charts, and NVIDIA came up and closed just above the upper channel line by a couple of pennies. And if I was wanting to buy back into NVIDIA, I'd wait for the next close above the upper channel line. We are at the bottom of the open gap here, and that could act as resistance. We're at the bottom of the flypaper channel. That could also act as resistance. Now, Tesla, on the other hand, is still trading above the flypaper channel. It's broken down below the 50-day moving average. It's still hanging on to our 375 price target. If we can continue lower from here, then 312.50 comes into play with a psychological stop probably at 350. Looking up on Friday, if the market wants to keep moving up, we need a close for Tesla on Friday above $402.89. Then looking at Shopify, we're still on a buy signal here. Things would change on Friday if Shopify were to close below $161.87. This is Shopify on the TSX. We're currently trying to break out above our price target of 175. You can see we've been trying to break out above that all week. If we can break out above it, then $200 would certainly come into play. Looking at Hut 8, we're currently on a sell signal. Things would change on Friday with a close above $32.96. We're stuck in the flypaper channel right now, so the market is still looking at this stock as an opportunity. We're trying to get back up above 31.25. If you look down, our next price target is $25. And if you look over to the left, you'll see there's a nice little open gap down there just below that level. So that could certainly be a target for Hut 8 if it wants to continue to move lower from here. Now, next up, we're looking at MicroStrategy, and it is currently holding the flypaper channel, still holding 312.50. If we were to break down, we know that back in late December, we traded a bit below the 312.50 level, so $300 is certainly acting as psychological support. If that were to break, 250 would be our next target to the downside. Looking up on Friday, we need to close above $356.56. So since generating a sell signal, it has just traded sideways, and you can see that the pros and the public are intertwined at the moment. So nobody's really taking a chance to be overly bullish or overly bearish on this stock at this time. Now, still in the same area of the market, but not as loved, is Mara. And Mara's on a sell signal right now. That would change on Friday with a close above $18.87. I'm not sure I would take that buy signal unless we start breaking out above the January highs. And you can see why we're trading below the flypaper channel. And so I'm not expecting a quick recovery for Mara. Currently, when we look at the panic zone chart, it's easier to see that we're developing a head and shoulders pattern here. And right now we're forming the right shoulder. And if we start to break down, you can see that there's probably a lot more downside to this stock than upside, but that could certainly change. Next up, we're looking at weed or canopy growth, and I've made this point many times: is that if you're looking at any of the cannabis stocks, you really want to not look back any farther than 2022. What happened over here is an anomaly, and it is certainly has no connection to what's going on right now or what's going to go on for these stocks in the future. So, looking at the weekly chart. And this chart is from last Friday. We're looking for a close on this Friday above $4.61 to give us a buy signal. And then looking at the daily chart, we popped the other day. We were not on a buy signal here, so this was a surprise to everybody. But yesterday we closed at $3.99. If we go back, we're still looking for a close above 461 to give us a weekly buy signal. Now, here's the problem. We're coming up to the flypaper channel, which is currently wrapping around the $5 level, and that's probably as high as this stock can go at this particular time. Now, when we look at the weekly chart, our next price target is 156. If we look at the daily price target chart, if we break down below 195, then 156 does come into play for canopy growth. So it looks like Wealthsimple traders like a little weed with their crypto, and now we're back to another crypto stock. Bitfarms broke down below the flypaper channel back in December and has not recovered yet. It's been trading sideways for the last week or so, and that is very similar to other crypto stocks. On Friday, we're looking for a close above $2.21. Again, our opportunities are rather limited at this particular time, but that's what we're looking for on Friday. Now, the TD Bank has had an amazing recovery over the past month and a half, and it has been treading water up here for a couple of weeks now. On Monday, we had a wild day on Monday, got all the way down to $79 before recovering and ending back at the upper channel line. So quite a wild day on Monday. Looking at our panic zone chart, the reason I'm bringing this one up is you can see over here that we've basically traded up to the bottom of an open gap and stopped. If we can keep going, and on Friday, we'd be looking for a close below $81.64 to give us a sell signal. If we can keep going, then our next mathematical target is $84.38 for the TD Bank traded in Toronto. Looking at GameStop, and this is a stock I haven't looked at in a long time, but you can see the panic zone charts taking us all the way down towards $18, and we're certainly headed in that direction. We're starting to break down below the flypaper channel. We're holding support at the 200-day moving average. So if that breaks, that could certainly take us down 2 lines. Our first target is 21.88 and then 18.75 if GameStop wants to continue to move lower from here. On Friday, we'd need to see a close above $27.38 to give us a new buy signal for GameStop. And of course, if that doesn't happen on Friday, that upper channel line is going to continue to move lower daily. Okay, folks, that is all for this morning's presentation. I am doing this presentation ahead of the employment numbers coming out. You probably won't see it till after the numbers come out. So far, stock index futures are flat while commodities are slightly higher, and Bitcoin is trading down in the pre-market on Friday morning. Enjoy your day. Enjoy the weekend. Next time you'll hear my voice is on Sunday morning.
Thanks for tuning in until the very end of today's stock market timing educational video. If you found the content valuable, don't forget to express your support by hitting the like button, leave a comment, sharing with your friends, and subscribing to our channel for more insightful updates. Remember, in the world of stocks, timing is crucial, and following the trend can be your greatest ally. If you would like more information on how we can help you better time the stock market, please visit theuptrend.com.